Okay, I just got my robot jack reacher ready for Franklin, and I wanted to walk through exactly how it all works. Much of it is very similar to last time. The giant flywheel in the back spins like this, and there's a clutch roller in the middle. This little gray wheel in here, and there's a coil drum in the front. Big silver drum here, and I have it set up so that when the flywheel is spinning, I fit the gray wheels in between the two so that it makes the coil drum spin too. And as the coil drum spins, it winds in that rope, which pulls on the rope and pulls on the flipper. So we've got the big flipper in the front. As the flywheel drives the coil drum, you can see it turning there. The flipper climbs up and up and up until the flipper head hits the top of the clutch. So that's right here. And the reason that it stops then is because when it hits that, the top of the clutch will actually swing down and disconnect from the flywheel and the coil drum. And that makes it so that the flywheel can keep spinning even though the weapon has reset. So to make that happen, I have a torsion spring here that lifts up on the clutch normally, and when I'm spinning the flywheel and I don't want to fire the weapon, I have the clutch held down out of engagement by a little tiny electromagnet. Try and point to it here, down in there. Maybe if I use a pointer it'd be easier. Right here. And the electromagnet is actually on a mount that can let it move, so when the clutch gets close to it, the magnet snaps up and grabs it, and then it doesn't let the clutch back up. Now, if the weapon did not reset the clutch, or at the beginning of a fight, I need to basically cock the mechanism by using the servo here to push down on the clutch until the magnet can grab it. Then the servo moves out of the way, and the clutch is free to fire into the weapon whenever it needs to when the magnet lets go. Alright, so in the back I have a little controller board that I made out of an Arduino Nano and some other circuitry that I connect to the radio receiver to give me throttle signal and trigger signal in, and then on the way out I drive the servo on the right side and the servo on the left side and the weapon motor, so that I can sequence all of the timing to make sure that nothing destroys anything else. I also turn those electromagnets on and off. In this version I added the magnets and the automatic resetting, so I had to add, you can kind of see in here, this yellow shrink wrap is around a Team Delta D switch I had laying around. And the drive motors are the same as they were before, the chassis is the same. The robot can still drive around while the flywheel is spinning, and when I want to fire the weapon I just let the clutch fall off of the magnets, but then I very carefully turn the magnets back on so that when the weapon does fire and it hits the clutch down, the magnets are ready to catch it. So let's do a quick power up and you can kind of see the whole system going. So you see, just as it turns on, the drive controllers on both sides get their signal, and so they make their beeps to say that they've got a valid signal. And the weapon controllers does the same thing. And then 3 seconds later, the servo here actually reaches down and cocks the clutch. So now you can see that I can turn the flywheel freely, and it doesn't turn the coil drum, and it doesn't turn the clutch because there's a gap between them now. So when I want to fire the weapon, I flip a switch on the transmitter here, the switch up here, and it just turns off the electromagnet briefly. Usually. And then the clutch will snap up into the weapon, like this. And now the flywheel is turning the coil drum and the arm is firing. Now when the arm gets all the way through its stroke, it hits the clutch and the magnets hold it so it stays down, and now the flywheel is free to rotate again. I have the software set up so that the motor turns the flywheel back on 3 seconds after it fires, and it ramps it up back to the speed from the transmitter 5 seconds after that. And that's Jack Reacher, ready for Franklin.